Obviously, looking forward to the week. Looking forward to the week of preparation. Looking forward to get back out there on the field. Home game, and with that, open up questions.
Yeah, Coach, could you give us the rationale on, or give us some information on the termination of wide receiver coach Ike Hilliard?
Yeah, performance-based, just like everything in this business that you want to make those decisions on. We're going a different direction, going in that direction with moving TJ into that room, being able to get some of the things that we need to get done in there as far as the detail, all the things that we want to get done in there from a bigger scale of our offense and getting better and doing all those different things. So tough decisions, people business, hard for me, hard for the organization, hard on Ike's family, but decision I felt I needed to make at this time, and we did.
And, like 3 of his receivers had career years last year, Ray, Drake, and Mooney. And then I guess it had to be tough for you. Y'all go back to 2005 when you were still playing for Tampa Bay Bucks. How do you separate and try to think doing what's best for the team?
You always got that's it right there. You always got to do what you feel was best for the organization. You always got to do what's best for the team. Obviously tough, the relationship. Obviously tough, the depth of the relationship. Obviously tough, who the man is, the character. Obviously tough on the success that we were able to have at the receiver position last year, particularly on offense, and all of those different things. So all those things factored in, but you got to make those decisions when they come up. All those decisions are always hard. They're never easy. And like I said before, they won't get easy. So that's just, you answered it for me, to be honest with you.
And then moving over to fixing the offense or getting the offense going, what are some of the issues y'all have identified that, get the offense? You had the running game going in game 2, but, haven't been able to score.
We got to make
got a lot of yards, but no
doubt. We got to score touchdowns. We got to fix our red zone defense. We got to score when necessary. We've been able to move the ball. We have not been able to finish without moving up the ball, and we got to figure out how to do that and get that stuff done. And that's what we'd like to fix this week. So, you nailed it. You answered me a question and answered it for me at the same time, Led.
That's bad.
No, you did.
I'm going to give myself an F.
You did yourself.
You said Sunday Kirk won't be competing for the starting job.
No.
This week. Why?
Mike's our quarterback. Mike's our quarterback. We got a lot of confidence in Mike. We're moving forward with Mike. Mike's the guy. Mike is the guy until I let you guys know otherwise, but Mike's our guy.
Is the quarterback position different from other positions? Kicker, you sign a guy. You have a problem, you sign a guy.
Sure.
We're always going competition. We've always got to be competing. Is the quarterback position exempt from that a little bit because of the nature of the spot?
No. Kirk, lost his job last year, but we're not even close to that moment with Mike. Mike had a bad game. We had a bad day as a team, and it's easy for everybody to pile on, particularly like I told you, the head coach, the coordinator, obviously the quarterback, first in line for the wounds, right? And he's just in line right now. He had a bad game. He'll bounce back. A lot of confidence. He'll bounce back, and I can't wait to watch practice today.
Is that something that you need to see more of? One bad game, it happens, right? But if you see
Sure.
3, 4, 5, then that's when you maybe start to look at a competition?
I guess that's fair to say. That happens when you have a couple bad games in a row. Happened to us last year, particularly at the position, really at a couple different positions. It wasn't like one game for Koo. It seemed like one game for Koo because we're talking about the game that happened this year, but that goes back further. Stood here a lot of times talking about the confidence that I had in Koo and how much I felt like he could bounce back, and it didn't. Didn't work out that time, So, this is different. I feel like Mike's going to bounce back today. I feel like he's going to bounce back Thursday, Friday, and then lead us into the game and in the future here. We drafted this young man for a reason, for his ability, his mental toughness, his physical toughness, and his ability to play the quarterback position. So I can't wait to watch him go do it.
What are you hoping comes from moving Zach to the field?
The better communication. Obviously going down there, being around Mike. You got a young quarterback, right? That's how we practice. That's how we do our walkthroughs. That's how we do everything. So that communication right here, with us being in the same area, the same room, the same spot, has to get a little bit better, and it can be a little bit more efficient, a little faster. You can see things a little bit better. Zach's been on the field his whole life. He sees the game just as well on the field as up in the box, being comfortable, the microphones, all of those issues, some of those things you can help, you can avoid. You can do a bunch of different things on the grass. Being a part of the grass, he provides a different type of energy when he's down there talking to everybody, the wideouts, the quarterback, our O-line, our coaches, all involved, obviously on the headsets, but him being around everything would be good for all of us. And I think it's just a collective agreement for a quarterback coach, TJ, DJ, himself, Zach, all of those guys being there to talk, led in the run game, everything just getting together to fix the things that Led was talking about earlier.
I know you mentioned it was an off day for Mike, obviously, on Sunday. Was there a specific point in the game where you noticed something was going very wrong for him?
We started off a little off really early. We couldn't complete, the routine play in that first play of the game with a little down flight right there to KP. So it was early and it was often. That was a historically bad day for us and probably for a lot of people. But that was just a tough day all around. So it started pretty early within the game. We caught a little footing, but not enough footing. We obviously got yards, which we talked about. But I always tell you guys stats are for losers. Zeno's not here today, but that was the definition of it, right? That was one of those games where that meant nothing. That was just not the way we want to play. That was not our style. That was not our brand. We got to fix that.
The firing of Mike, I mean, could it be extrapolated that there's an issue as far as the receivers' communication, the routes they were running, and, communication with Mike and then Zach? Is that something that we can extrapolate from that?
I don't know. I don't want to use the word extrapolate. That's your word. That's a pretty good one. But I'm going to say I wanted a different direction. I wanted to handle those things the right way. I wanted to be able to go in that room and present to those guys the right way to get the things that we want to get done. Not just we, them as well, right? They have high goals. They have high expectations. We just talked about these guys having 3 guys in that room with career years the year before, and we want to get those things right. Right now we got wideouts without touchdowns. Right now we got wideouts that are craving the ball, and it's not just Mike, it's not just them, and there's no blame going around. Now, obviously, when you got to make moves like that, it feels like it. Obviously, when you got to make moves like that, you got to make changes in direction to decisions, it feels that way. But I got to make direction to decisions for the leaders of our group, right? You need to have the environment, you need to have the coaching, you need to have the detail, you need to have everything right in order to get your offense in the right direction. So I'll just kind of leave it as we got to get everything right.
As someone who has experience being in that role,
yes,
was there something that you saw over the last few days that made you say, okay, something's not working correctly here?
Yeah, you want the communication always to be right way. You want everybody to understand their roles. You want it to be complete role clarity. You want to be able to define those things in the right way. You want to be able to explain everything to all of those guys the right way. And those are always things that you're trying to do. Those are always things you're always trying to seek out. And the best way to get the best from everybody is to have the definite role clarity across the board for us to go out there and find a way to get better on the field.
You always talk about, I feel like for the Falcons especially, it's such a collaborative effort when you're drafting, when you're picking. So was it a collaborative, decision? Or was it your decision? Or was Terry involved? Or
No, it's hard to say they're not involved. I'm always going to talk to my guy. I'm always going to talk to everybody involved in this. We're tight in this building. We're tight all along the board with everybody. So it's never going to be a suggestion like that from somebody. It's always going to be a decision that I have to make. It's always going to be something that's going to have to happen that I'm going to have to make those decisions and pull those triggers. And I got to do those things. And we did it for the team. We did it for what's best, or what we feel is best. And now we got to go out there and execute.
healthy? Is he fully healthy? Is he
Michael?
feeling good? Yeah, where wasn't any incidents where he is feeling extra sore or something happened in the game? He took some hits, so
he didn't play well. He's going to take hits every single week. We all do. He didn't play well, and we didn't play well as a team. I don't want to go down that path.
Kind of staying in that vein of just wide receivers, how can you get Darnell Mooney more involved, just specifically in this explosive passing attack that's just kind of been lacking?
Darnell, I know is coming off a significant amount of time missed, and that's definitely a goal that we have to get him involved. He's in week 2 of really coming back, and I'm fired up to see what he does in week 3 and week 4, and then progressing obviously past the bye and what's going to happen in that. So we'll continue on his upward tick. Let's get him going a little bit better. Let's get him going a little bit faster. But you definitely got to get him going, and that's something that we definitely look forward to doing. When he's going and he's explosive, we're explosive. When he's going and he's not explosive, we got people underneath explosive. And I think that stuff all kinds of ties into it for all of us.
When do you expect kind of that?
I would like to say this week. It'd be great. It'd be awesome to happen.
There's a couple of special teams there, like miscues on the kick returns and stuff. There were some muff kicks and everything like that. What do you guys look to see from that?
It's kind of a common theme across the league when you look at it. This new kickoff has presented some challenges with this knuckleball kick, and it has presented some challenges if you don't field those things the right way. If you don't field it off that one bounce, if you mishandle one little kickoff, or you mishandle a little bit to the right, or you get the bad bounce, it's going to be tough. And that's something that we definitely been locked into and talking about. We talked about it ad nauseum last week. In our rooms, and I brought it up here talking about how you need to go out there and control this game is handle that knuckleball. And that was something we did not get done in what it takes. And that was a problem. And we got to go out there and fix it today in practice, something that we had talked about, we have been ahead of, we have seen. You've seen it come up a couple of different spots in the league. It's kind of a new common theme that's happening with the new kickoff. So it presents some different challenges for sure.
Do you have any updates just in general on Terrell or anything?
Yeah, he's still week to week. Obviously the hamstring, so we'll see. He's hopeful. I'm hopeful. But if not, you'll be down this week. You got the bye. You for sure get him some time after that, but we'll get a chance to look at him this week as well. Haven't been at practice yet this week, so I don't know. Obviously, you get your opinions from your trainers and things of that nature. You got one more cough, D-Lane, and we're kicking you out.
Is your new kicker getting the mix this week, or is he more of a, you gotta take a look for a couple of weeks?
I got to watch him kick, and I'm going to practice today, watch him kick, and we'll be able to have more information at the end of the week. Obviously we'll kick today. We won't Thursday, we'll kick Friday, so I'll have more information on that, Josh, at that point. Obviously I'm not going to sit here and talk about the technique of what a kicker looks like and things of that nature. That is not my wheelhouse. I just know if they go in or they don't. I got a lot of confidence. I have some confidence in Romo. He went out and went 5-for-5 for us. We had an 0-for-2 day. So just like Mike, I don't want to exactly just surrender that. But kickers a little bit different, right? There is nobody in the building that is competing currently. We have Lenny, who's our developmental guy, who we love, who we want to keep going and get him potentially ready for that spot. But you got to keep bringing people in to make sure you can see what's going on when you don't have it all aligned the way you want to have it exactly right and feel the right way.
Hindsight's obviously 2020, but
It's hindsight, you said, okay. I thought you said a name, sorry.
Is there anything that you look back at last week and say, okay, we did this differently or not as well, and that's why we performed the way we did on Sunday?
That was the tough part. You didn't feel that during the week, and it's like you got to go out and you got to trust your process. You got to do what you got to do. We played awful. We played bad, and I was very clear and upfront and honest about that with everybody. And we played awful at a couple of different positions that we talked about, namely the quarterback, which everybody wants to talk about. We did not play well there. We played, decent on defense. We gave ourselves bad field position just throughout the day with the kickoff. We gave ourselves a bunch of hard deals to go out there and try to deal with the unfortunate misses on the field goals, and we got to play better across the board. That's a different game if you make those 2 kicks in the beginning of the game and the score's 10-6 at halftime, and how you approach it when you come out and some of those different things. And you don't get to that desperation mode when you're going for it on 4th down, things of that nature. It's a different game. But that's not the case. So you can't look at it like that. You got to go out there, go through your process, find a way to win this week.
Obviously, a successful.
1 second. I'll be there.
I guess not seeing that there was something, okay, that was what led us to Sunday. What do you kind of work on this week to get to where you want to be this Sunday?
Every single week is the same for us, right? You go out there, you work on what you need to do to try to figure out how you go win, right? Last week we tried to figure out how we go to win. We didn't execute. We didn't do a good job of those things. So we just got to go out and execute in the practice field, and it usually turns over into what happens in the game. So we feel really confident that we could do those things. We've done it before. We've done it in the past, and we'll be able to do it this week as well.
A successful
Sorry,
run
Charles.
game obviously makes your quarterback better, makes your receivers better.
No question.
Makes the defense better. When you studied the film from that game, were you satisfied with the play call that you remained committed enough to Bijan Robinson? A week ago you said was the best player.
He's the best. He's the best player. But that game doesn't change Bijan. He's unbelievable. Bijan is somebody we're going to lean on, and you take Bijan out of the game when you get a certain amount of lead in the game, and you take him out. And that was a great job by those guys. That was a great job, like I gave the credit to those guys. But, Bijan's allowed to stay in that game. That's what I mean by the score's 10-6 as opposed to it being what it was at some point. Bijan's still able to remain in that game. We still try to keep him in the game. We threw him the ball a couple of different times. He was able to catch a couple of different screens. But, when you take away that threat of him having the ability to run the football every time, then Bijan didn't play a perfect game last week either. He had his own mistakes. But we need to get better as a team. We need to get better as a unit, period.
How did D. Alford play in the last game? And if he has to go out there again for AJ, what does that look like?
Man, let me tell you something, guys. Let's give this up for D-Led. Let's give him some credit for speaking on the positive right now, right? Giving me something that I want to talk about right now. D. Alford was absolutely amazing last week. He went out, he competed, he played at a very high level. He had the one pass interference call that's very questionable, as you know, in this game, but he went out there, made a couple knockdown passes. He really competed versus a very good wideout. He gave us a chance to find a way to get back into that game. Both him and Mike Hughes going out there playing for us, and we were fired up with their efforts and what they're able to do, and I hope he can bring it again. And we look forward to seeing him do it out there in practice again this week.
I know you're obviously every week is right. You're looking for a W, but do you think there's any more urgency, I guess, in the building after coming off a loss like that you guys want to get this win coming up on Sunday even more?
There's always going to be a natural urgency when you lose, just in general. There's always going to be an urgency with these guys because they want to win, But that urgency in the National Football League is very common. It's very commonplace, and every single week you go out there, you're going to have this certain type of urgency that you want to go out there and win, particularly from the coaches, particularly from the players. But this week, I have to say, with human nature, yes, there's always going to be more urgency to go out there and win after you come off any loss, but particularly a loss like that.
Last year, I mean, he's not technically a rookie, but he still kind of is. So with some of them, the issues and the mistakes, are they rookie-ish mistakes?
Yes.
Can you give him that?
Yes, you don't ever give Mike anything because he's so hard and critical on himself, and he's such an accountable guy that he's not going to take that. He's not going to accept that. But he is a young player. He's a developing player. We do have to treat him like that, and we got to make sure we can help him as well too, and the things that we can help with. And he'll go help himself and all things that he needs to do. But we won't make those excuses. Like I said, I got a lot of confidence in this young man. I got a lot of confidence in the guys coaching him. I got a lot of confidence that we're going to go out there and have throw a good practice today, and I can't wait.
Naturally, after a week where you struggle on offense, there's going to be some critics who kind of come out of the woodwork.
Yes.
Nationally, there's been kind of one critique saying that there's a little predictability to the offense.
That's always the case. When you play as bad as we played last week, rightfully so. Like throw those things at you, throw those stones. There's no doubt. We were clearly predictable last week that we could not do anything. So like rightful stone throwers, throw away. I got no arguments, no fights, no nothing against that. We got to go out there and play.
All right, thanks, y'all.
Have a good one, guys.